Hey guys, Martin Schofield here, fractional CMO to SaaS and tech companies. In this episode, I'm going to be talking about product-led growth, outbound email, and within that, also kind of looking at the B2B space of product-led growth. And yeah, I'm just going to show you just a few things in terms of like, if it's not product-led growth, what high-ticket B2B playbook looks like or a variation of it. There's literally unlimited amounts of ways of creating a funnel. But then I'm also going to show you, why product-led growth in particularly looks different, and in some ways, currently as I make this video, there's a few people who are doing the opposite of what everyone else is doing, and in kind of what in the I think it's called the 22 irrefutable laws of marketing. This is one of the laws in that when everyone's doing something in terms of marketing, you want to be doing the opposite because that's how you stand out. So I'm going to zoom into my classroom board here and just show you a few things. So I'm going to walk you through this this framework here. So we've got this is a website. I'm going to point out a few different tools here. Not affiliated to any of these tools, but just to give you an example of a B2B outbound playbook. Like I said, there's loads of different ways in which you can do this. There's 1,000 different ways you could build up a stack. But one of the big pieces currently in outbound is probably Clay. And there's probably starting to get some competitors in the space, but at a 1.4 billion valuation, they really kind of created a new space and dominating a space around being essentially a data warehouse that integrates at an API level, so it can be the push, send and receiver for outbound. But let me kind of walk you through this. So this is obviously this is a website, and so coming to the website, you've got traffic. Now you might have social media management, paid media, SEO, email, but essentially you're creating demand through that. And so one of the things that you can do with a website with a tool called RB2B, which is for US traffic, is personalization, a website persona ID. So it can essentially identify at persona level who came and visited your website with, certainly it only works with currently, I think, US traffic. And from my experience, if you had 1,000 visitors, it probably identifies somewhere around 30 to 45% of those visitors. So you could take those details and then put them into Clay. Now, there's 1,000 things that you can also do with Clay, but one of the things that you can do is set up a workflow which essentially replaces an SDR. So if a human SDR was to take a contact, look them up, see if they're your ICP, so ideal customer, and then if they were write a personalized message, all that can be automated in Clay. So you can drop that lead data into a Clay table and have a workflow which then goes, okay, this is our ICP. Great, let's enrich the data, let's clean the data. So let's make sure we've got, the copy, like the way that name's been written from, let's say LinkedIn, that we've got their full name written in the right way and it's got their surname fully, and then we can put it into an email campaign. And so I'll walk you through kind of how that could then be done as an omni-channel strategy. So once it's been qualified within Clay and enriched and kind of cleaned up a little bit in terms of those datas, you do a couple of things. You could push it then to SendSpark, which would then create an AI video. You've probably seen these videos where you get kind of the background of either the person's LinkedIn profile, or if it's B2B, then it can be their website. That's kind of what marketers do. LinkedIn profile is just as good. A bit like my Loom video here, the video comes up, and then something like SendSpark has the ability to sort of use AI replication to make the first bit, i.e. the name, personalized. So it'll say, "Hey Jane, hey Steve, hey Dan," and so change that with AI. And so then you could push that into a tool like the Growth Machine, which is a multi-channel outreach, and you can create workflows within there. And within that workflow, you could be doing outreach on LinkedIn and then also on email. And often when you're doing kind of these type of multi-channels, you'd keep it personalized. You might do a bit of social selling on LinkedIn, and if you don't get any reply, you might move it to an email. So that's kind of just one way to say maximize the traffic on your website, where you're already paying for that traffic in some form of marketing over here. Then there's other layers of kind of escalating that growth. So you've got Common Room, which is able to identify people within interacting with your social media. So you can do the same process here and push it to Clay, and you might send it through this type of campaign, or you might push it directly just to a cold email. Triggerfy is another tool which you can start tracking keywords and also interactions with competitors, and then pull in that data, and then again use Clay to enrich, and then again push it through a system. And so you don't have to do multi-channel through a third party. You could be routing Clay directly to, let's say, LinkedIn outreach or email. The reason why it can be useful to use a third party in your SaaS stack is that you're not sending LinkedIn message, you actually, someone's conversing, doing some social selling at the same time getting a cold email like they've never spoken. Clearly that creates a disconnect in the conversation. So it's a way to kind of make sure that each touch point is natural and there's visibility basically within how each touch point is going out. Ocean is a tool which has an API with Clay, which basically you can take a load of data and go, okay, based on these people, find me lookalike audiences. This can be great because you're identifying specific company headcount, job titles, locations which are engaged in your website. And so if you have a target audience market, so a TAM, which is pretty wide, it's a great way to go, well, who's actually resonating with us today, and find other people like that. Again, you could then put it through a workflow where you can enrich it and clean that data. And again, you could then look at using an outbound solution like Smartlead or Instantly or another tool to start scaling that lookalike audience and building outbound campaign. So there's a lot there, but this is all about, and this is, there's about a few things. So one, it's about behavior. So if someone's engaging with your website, then obviously there's a level of intent with you. They're engaging with the competitor's social media. Let's say they're liking a webinar, right, on the subject matter. It means that they're getting educated on the subject matter and potentially they're in the market. So these can be really good signals to say that, hey, this person would be responsive to this. Because the challenge with outbound email is that because it's become so cheap to send email, it's why the big tech companies have restricted it so much in terms of deliverability, because it's just too easy to send a cold email these days. And so if you have a look in your inbox and your spam, I think I probably get somewhere around 30 to 40 emails a day on people pitching me an outbound solution. So the likelihood of there being relevance, timing, of interest is pretty small, regardless of personalization. So to win that battle, you need some behavior or trigger for relevance beyond personalization. So this type of interaction is a good trigger. Now, with the complexities of looking for behaviors and triggers, having to build out fairly complex systems, often this is now a niche skill, either within outbound providers or Clay Clay experts. That level of investment, it increases the cost, and also the demands now on infrastructure to be big and wide in order to kind of get into inboxes to a certain degree, means that this is really good for, in my opinion, high ticket. And when I say high ticket, something where you're going to get a multi 5-figure to 6-figure contract on your deals. And so if that's you at B2B, then yeah, certainly look at building these type of solutions. So just to give an example of some of the emails here, and I've blurred out senders, so I'm not shaming anybody on YouTube here, but you can see here. So this is personalization. So using Clay, probably looking up a website. So referencing clients here, and kind of copy from our website. So that's kind of one way to make it personalized, but without any relevance, then all it is just kind of personalized website, personalized messaging that doesn't mean anything. Here's another example of using video. And so I'm personally, probably because I'm a marketer, I'm kind of, I don't really react to this tactic anymore. I kind of know what's going on. I think that's probably true for a lot of people, but I can also imagine that maybe there are still millions of people in different industries where they still feel like this is highly personalized to them, and maybe out of curiosity do click on videos. I'm not so. I think this was before Clay and personalized AI, or should I say, quality AI allowed AI writing to happen. This probably was the leading kind of pattern disruption with video graphics. Your own website in the background. I'm not sure that's true today. And so that's kind of what B2B looks like. But I want to talk to you a little bit about product-led growth. Product-led growth is, not always, but is often combined with low ticket items. So whether that's monthly or annual, maybe at annual it's around $2,000 or $3,000. If it's monthly, then you could be looking at, $49, $150. All of a sudden, to create that level of infrastructure and then create essentially a sales process, it doesn't make sense. Like as a strategy, it doesn't make sense. But does that mean that cold email is unattainable? Well, that isn't the case. And so I'm just going to reference some things happening in the marketplace by a select few, and just show you kind of what's going on here. So this product here, our B2B, is owned by, founder and CEO is a guy called Adam. And his outbound and Adam builds in public, and he's using a company run by Taylor Harren. And I think Adam has insisted that Taylor also builds in public as far as the work he's doing with our B2B. This is kind of gold for anyone interested in PLG, because Taylor's doing a great thing in terms of results. And I think one of the things that he's doing is the opposite of what most outbound marketers and the industry are doing. And let me just open this post, because it'll maybe highlight a little bit of this. So Adam Robinson is the CEO of Retention and RB2B. So this is kind of an overview of Taylor's strategy. So to email everyone gets one email every 2 months, and that's like the whole TAM. Short and punchy copy, no links from the first email, that's deliverability. Automate a positive reply, so there's no SDR, no complex follow-up on here. Don't overuse AI, so he's not using credits on every email. And then when Taylor Harren was working with Fixer, there was significant contributions going from 1 million to 10 million in 5 months. And they used, they sort of used same copy, same list, and same results, and got great results. And so here's the preview of the fixer email, and you can see really simple, personalized first name, 2 lines of kind of like benefits, and then a no links signature. And basically, if someone's interested, they get an automated response to sign up, essentially, and that's it. So how does Taylor make that successful? Well, there's lots of little ingredients to that, which I can't cover in everything, but one of it is scale. And so what Taylor does really well is just understand the kind of the maths here, and isn't afraid to do scale in 2025. So let me show you this board here. So here's scenario 1, targeted, and this might be relevant, right, for depending on ticket price. And here's kind of mass blast, and this could be relevant for PLG. But let's say you were unsure about what's the best approach here. So let's take some quite different numbers. So emails sent. So let's scenario 1, 30,000 in a month. Email scenario 2, 1 million in a month. Okay, so huge difference in just scale. If we could have open rate data, and generally you don't get to see it anymore because it creates a tracking link, but if you did have open rate data, if we favored the smaller amount because it was all personalized with AI, I'd say that was 40% open rate, and with less AI personalized or no AI personalization per se, make this one only 10%. Well, based on those volume numbers, your open rates are 12,000 versus 100,000. So the volume game at a significantly larger volume game is still delivering a lot more. For the same purposes around personalization, we say that positive reply rate on 12,000 is 7%, as opposed to a more, hey, we're just knocking on the door here, 2% type copy. Well, positive replies on this 2,100, and this one 20,000. Now, if you're selling contracts at 5 or 6 figures, well, this is great. If you're selling a product which costs $49, then you need to be doing this, right? And so you could go down this route also, and like all of this is clearly a win and a win. But if you want to win big, then this is the type of scale to do this. So to do this really well, it costs tens of thousands of pounds in infrastructure. And for a lot of people, that's a turn off because email in principle has always been seen cheap. And one of the things I would say as a CMO is no longer think it as a low cost entry solution. It can be used like that, but if you're really serious about email, now look at it as a high-end tech solution, because in either strategy, B2B or PLG, you need to spend money on your infrastructure. And so really look at it. If you look at doing 1 million a month level, think about that cost. Let's say 10,000 a month in infrastructure cost. Think about that like an advertising cost, because that's a far better way to appropriation of budget to that cost. I think I tried to break down what this would look like in terms of expectations. So if you did 1 million emails a month, you need to send 33,000 emails a day. If you were to limit 10 outbound emails a day, then you would need just over 333, so 3,333 email accounts. Then you want to add 50% more, so you've got rotation for health. And you want to limit to 5 email accounts per domain. Essentially looking at 1,000 domains. And so at 1,000 domains, if your average price is $5 per domain, that's 5,000 a year as an annual cost. That breaks down as a monthly cost at 417. Just under 5,000 email accounts. And this is where you need to find good suppliers, understand things about IP in terms of clean IP that they're ideally in the US or tier one in Europe. But buying at volume, you should be able to negotiate some good prices. If you can get each email accounts at $3, you're looking at kind of just under 15,000 a month cost there. And if you were using a sender, and you could also look at kind of building your own, but if you're using just a kind of on the market, off the shelf sender, you're probably looking somewhere around 1,500 a month to do that. So you've got kind of an idea of cost here. So you're in the kind of region here of 17 to 18,000 at that level of infrastructure. Obviously, you could cut corners here in terms of sending a lot more, and burning through emails. You could just buy your 50% later down the line when you know you're going to burn through. So there's different ways in which you could kind of slice the apple. But yeah, just gives an idea of that kind of total cost. So if you're interested in large volume, I would definitely check out Taylor Harren. Adam has, I think part of the agreement working with Adam is getting him to build on public. So there's a lot of interesting stuff in there. But more importantly, Taylor's probably doing what most 95% of the industry isn't doing. And and there's some really good lessons on that. There's a bunch of excellent outbound agencies and users, building all sorts of fancy stacks. I think if you're looking for a high performer in this area, probably go to somewhere like Smartlead and Instantly, and have a look at their kind of partners list. They've got some good verifications on people who've done X amount of revenue, X amount of sending volume, etc. in terms of verified results within that. That's the hardest thing in marketing, right? Is to kind of find people who've actually got the results in it. I hope you've enjoyed watching this video and got some good ideas for your outbound strategy.